Salvador Dali by Buffy Tucci, a humanities final project. Salvador Domingo Felipe Chanco Dali, popularly known as Salvador Dali, was born in Figueres, Spain on May 11, 1904, and died January 23, 1989, at 84 years old. He was of Spanish nationality and spent most of his life in Spain. He was born to father Salvador Dali I. Cruz and mother Felipe Dominic Farias. He had a younger sister, Anna Marie, and he married Russian immigrant Elena Ivana Dyakovna, who went by Gala. Salvador Dali became one of the most influential painters of the 20th century. Dali was a versatile artist whose art is rich with symbols, many of which were understood only by Salvador Dali and had to be explained at length, which suited his self-aggrandizing style. Dali never limited himself solely to painting. Some of his most popular artistic works are sculptures, architecture, and other objects. He is also noted for his contribution to theater, film, fashion, and photography. His influence in art is due equally to both his painting style as well as his flamboyant nature. Nearly his every waking moment was an effort to draw attention to himself. Dali was known as a great surrealist and classified as such today, though much of his work differed greatly from surrealist painters of his time. That fact was not lost on Dali, who famously proclaimed, "I am surrealism," and he did in fact take surrealism to new heights. At age 5, Dali was taken to his brother's grave and told by his parents that he was his brother's reincarnation, a concept which Dali believed. Of his brother, Dali said, "We resemble each other like two drops of water, but we had different reflections. He was probably a first version of myself, but conceived too much in the absolute." And the images of his long-dead brother would appear embedded in Dali's later work, including this 1963 portrait of my dead brother, seen here on the slide. Much of Dali's efforts during his life were to distance himself from both others socially and politically, to create an iconic status for himself. This effort can be summed up in the artist's own words. At age 6, I wished to be a female cook. At 7, Napoleon. Ever since, my ambition has been continually on the increase. Now, all I want is to be Salvador Dali. But the closer I get to my goal, the further Salvador Dali drifts away from me. While most of his compatriots were mostly socialist and communist, Dali proclaimed his support for the fascist government of Francisco Franco, though it is doubtful Dali had any political convictions beyond those that would promote Salvador Dali himself. Famous paintings. 1926 Basket of Bread, although this was not his first painting, but his first recognized and commissioned painting. 1931 The Persistence of Memory is one of his most famous as well as his most controversial paintings. The painting has been interpreted with different meanings, as its surrealist nature suggests that there may be different ways to look at the painting. 1938 Face and Fruit Dish on a Beach. At one glance, a spectator sees a desolate beach. At another, a face. At another, a fooded dish filled with pears. And again, a profile of a dog. These images are fragmented further the harder you look at the painting. The instability of appearance fascinated Dali, who sought to invoke the world of unconsciousness. 1940, The Face of War. The face is withered like a corpse and wears an expression of misery, of war. In the lower right-hand corner is a handprint that Dali insisted was left by his own hand. (1944) Flight of bee around a pomegranate a second before awakening. The bayonet, as a symbol of a stinging bee, represents a woman's abrupt awakening from her otherwise peaceful dream. This is an example of Sigmund Freud's influence on surrealist artists, and Dali's attempt to explore the world of dreams in a dreamscape. The 1970 Hallucinic Toreador. This piece was dedicated to his wife Gala, whose portrait is featured in the upper left-hand corner. It is said that the concern for the increase in tourism in Spain led Dali to embrace the features in this piece. Sculptures and other objects. The 1936 lobster telephone and 1937 Mae West Lips sofa were both commissioned by surrealist artist and patron Edward James. Dali said lobsters and telephones have a strong sexual connotation for himself, according to the display caption for the lobster telephone at the Tate Gallery, and he drew a close correlation between food and sex. The wood and satin Mae West Lips sofa was shaped after the lips of the actress Mae West, who Dali apparently found fascinating. The 1985 Homage to Newton, both front and back, are featured with an open torso and suspended heart to indicate open-heartedness, and an open head indicating open-mindedness. These are two very qualities important for science discovery and successful human endeavors. Theater and film. Dali was associated with several plays and movies throughout his art career, but only wrote and directed the 1975 Impressions of Upper Magnolia. Fashion. Salvador Dali and Christian Dior co-designed the costume for the year 2045. I have included the most popular styles of this collection on this slide. Photography. Dali dabbled in photography and in 1948 completed a popular Atomica series, featured here with Dali suspended in air along with a chair, a painting, an easel, three cats jumping that look like they're jumping from another one of Dali's paintings. Architecture. On the left is the home of Salvador Dali himself in Portlagen, Spain. In 1939, he built Dream of Venus Pavilion at the 1939 New York's World Fair, which contained in it a number of unusual sculptures and statues, which included live performances from actors dressed as statues. In 1960, Salvador Dali recreated the theater and museum in Figueres, Spain. This is the actual location of Dali's final resting place. His crypt is located under the stage floor, so he can forever enjoy the music, art, and film that comes from this theater. Literary work. Throughout his years completing all his other artwork projects, he managed to complete several novels. The last and final literary piece he wrote from 1952 to 1963, The Diary of a Genius. I have listed some of his most popular artworks in chronological order throughout his 84 years with us. As you can see, the first piece was completed in 1910 when he was only 6 years old. His final piece, The Shallow's Tale, in 1983, which was only 1 year before the artist passed away. Salvador Dali, the man, was both a master and a servant to the Dali icon. His legend lives on today, and Dali continues to inspire artists throughout the world with his bizarre artwork and flamboyant natures.